Well, the next rust I'm going to look at, I'm going to try to do these right here. I don't know what the heck's underneath there. It looks, rusted away. Grind it out, and I'm going to pull this plastic off and got right up in here to do. But this is not rusted through. That's just a little dirt or some crap. Not too bad. Actually, it got rusty from that, which is where the factory sealed up the antenna. It's got a windshield antenna. This little grommet. I'm going to fill that in with metal and put the stuff that's inside the frame saver. That's all going to go inside there and all down in here with the wand through this hole. So I'll do that hole last. And let's see what we have when we grind this out right now. Actually, what I just decided to do with this, because there's a plate behind here, I am going to use the panel adhesive on this. I'm going to cut out 16 gauge is the right size of this. I'm going to grind this out, clean this up, all the metal in here with the Dremel. And this way, when the panel adhesive goes on there, and this is all cleaned up with the Dremel, and a piece fits in here, even though it's a regular shape, I'll cut out a piece. I'll trace it out on a cardboard, put it over this, and then I'll cut it out with the jigsaw and grind it so a piece fits in here almost exactly, and just put it in there with the panel adhesive, and this way it'll be all sealed up with panel adhesive. This way, whatever caused this to rust, I don't know if it was this, probably something like coming down from here into there. And I can also get on the inside, but I want to do it that way with the panel adhesive because it'll actually last a lot longer than the welding. The panel adhesive is very, very, very strong shit. And, it's whatever's still here. It's just the outside skin is off. The other metal under here is still structurally sound. So we'll clean it up with Dremel and trace it out with the cardboard, make a plate, glue it in there. And, like I said, that is not like JB Weld or some other crap like that. It's panel adhesive is made. That's how they're actually putting the cars together today. It'll be fine for something like that. That's not structural. That's just a little cosmetic piece that goes over the structural piece that's under there, and that's still solid. And we'll clean it up with the Dremel. Not really sure if I want to weld this in or not. Maybe I will. There's really, I can get behind here and spray stuff in there and put my hand back there. So I just got to do is take this piece of paper and see, what I'll do is, I'll put this with the copper coat primer shit. I just have to cut out a piece of metal, 16 gauge, no 18 or 20, 16. So put that piece of paper on the freaking 16 gauge, spray paint around it, and we'll cut it out with the jigsaw. Well, I just painted it around here, so when it dries, I'll take the jigsaw and cut that piece out right here. I got to grind this off and just be cut like around that. And here's the well-through copper coat. And by the way, I got some steel toe freaking heavy-duty new boots because in case I drop some shit on my freaking toe. Actually, I did a little bit with this thing because it was in the cardboard and I was holding it, and the bottom fell out of the cardboard. Didn't drop really hard, but I says, man, that could have been bad news. So we're going to take this stuff and spray it on there. I chemically cleaned it and cut that out, grind it. I don't know if I'll do it tonight, but I might. I'll do some. So I'll do some tonight. I always get a late start. That's my problem. If I was inside a shop, it'd be cool. Well, that's how the stuff looks. It looks gray, but it's copper well-through primer. I like the copper better than the zinc, but that's what I've read anyway. So we'll just see how this works out. Well, I just thought of something about down here with this, because it's not really, there's a little hole here, but this stuff is actually freaking solid. It's not like flapping in the breeze. And the reason for that is, if you go over here, I know I've actually put stuff in here too before, but see how this was all sealed up, all down here? They sealed this up with the intention of, like, because that's the spot where, it's crimped on the door, and that's where it freaking rusts. What actually happened was this seal up here was bad by the window. I'm going to change that out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the inside door panel off and just go ahead and clean the shit out of the inside of the door, chemically clean it, go over with the rust killing primer, the rust reformer primer, and then give it a coat of paint and also a real heavy coat of Cosmoline Rust Veto 344. And this, I'll just grind this all off. The inside will be freaking solid, like there'll be no rust on it. This is more like, it's through, but it's not that structurally bad. And put like a light coat of panel adhesive on it, then a little bit of fiberglass, what do you call it, door glass. That actually ain't gonna go nowhere. That'll save me a lot of work, be a lot faster, and it will last many years. And the inside of the door will be rust proofed as all hell. Just thought of that. See, that's what happens when you freaking actually get on it. There's shortcuts you can take that'll keep the rust away and remove whatever's there. So it'll be wrong, but it's not going to be wrong. It will be not to the standards of restoration standards, but it won't be to the standards of hack and pack either, where it'll fall apart in a couple years or 6 months. It'll be there for many, many years. Like I said, to repeat myself again, a little bit of panel adhesive over this after it's tapped in, just a little bit and ground down. But on the inside, it'll be all chemically cleaned, and whatever remaining rust will get rust reformer primer, then a coat of paint, and also a freaking what do you call that stuff? Cosmoline, the heavy duty stuff. So it'll all be sealed up, and that won't go nowhere. That won't go nowhere. That'll save me a lot of freaking time and grief instead of cutting this all out. Because actually, it is solid, because they freaking sealed up that lip. They sealed up that lip. It's good to go. Well, that actually came out pretty good. Actually, I got to grind that down. Now, I just used a flux welder, but any little pinholes in there and stuff, after I ground it down and tap it in a little more, it's flush though. You can see it's flush. Just going to grind those welds down. It came out okay. I'm getting a little bit better at this damn thing already. And actually, if I was working on it every day, in less than 2 weeks, all this rust would be already sealed up. But not working on it every day, all day, or nothing like that. Just a couple hours here and there. But I am moving on it. So I'm happy with this. That means the other side's going to go nice and easy, which means this is probably going to go nice and easy too up there. And then I already got the door figured out, and I got to do behind the quarter panels. And the main thing is to get that Rust Veto 344 all across the bottom on the frame, inside the rails, everything, because it's a matter of preservation is really what I'm looking for. Getting rid of the rust, cutting out all the old rust, making sure nothing rusts further, there's no holes. And you know, it's not too bad of a job. There's a couple little pinholes in there and stuff, but like I said, I'll get that with the panel adhesive, and you'll never know it was there. Wow, so it's going a lot faster than I thought, just working sporadically here and there. Biggest thing for me is I got to pull this stuff out, I got to put the stuff away. It takes me about as much time to do that as it does to actually do the actual work. But you know, I'm getting it done. I'm getting it done. Well, just double checking down here if this was rusted through. No, it's not. It's just a little surface rust. The other side's got some rust through down here in the corner. I'll have to put some steel. But you can see, like, I didn't like fill in all the steel perfectly, but this came out a lot better than, you know, my other welding. You know, it's there's some like little holes here, but you know, there's a plate behind it, and we're going to fill that up right now. I chemically cleaned it with starting fluid and blew it off with air. And I'm going to do that again actually, and before I put on panel adhesive, because the panel adhesive will stop any kind of water. It will not. Actually, that's a pretty flat panel, man. I'm surprised. That did come out okay. It did come out okay. The next thing, I picked up a die grinder, because when I pull off this plastic, I'm not going to pull off the dash. I'm actually going to put a piece of cardboard over the dash. I don't know if I'll be able to weld on the one side next to the dash, but I'll be able to weld all the way up and down on the opposite side and across. And maybe there'll have to be a bead of panel adhesive on there, but that's not going to be a problem really, because it's, you know, I'm going to be putting in some new metal with mostly welding, and it might have a couple tacks along there anyway. But I'm going to use that die grinder right here. For when I pull off this plastic shit, so I can get in there and clean up off all that rust, because you really can't get in there with a grinding wheel like that. It's too big, you know. It's too big. So that could be handy for some little bullshit like that. There's not much rust on this car. As you can see down here, that ain't rust. That's just some dirt. And that's one of the reasons I'm going to use Rust-Oleum in here, because with the rust killing primer, I'm going to chemically clean all that stuff, scuff it up, clean it several times, go over the rust killing primer, and give it a coat of Rust-Oleum. The Rust-Oleum actually holds up very long as it's not on the sun. The UV kills it. If it's down in places you can't see, it's just like an industrial enamel paint. It freaking holds up under the hood, all that kind of shit. It's okay inside the trunk, you know, stuff like that. It's UV that kills it. So anyway, put some freaking panel adhesive on there right now, and you know, once I finish this, I'll go to that. That's how I'm doing it, one section at a time. Well, I covered it up with some 3M panel adhesive, which is this stuff right here. You can see that's the part number, 08115 3M. 2 parts. Mixed it up on some cardboard with some steel. I'm probably gonna leave that alone. You know, it actually is fairly flat, believe it or not. If I DA'd that down and put a skim coat of Bondo on there, you'd never know that freaking thing was fixed. Probably gonna touch this up with a sandblaster, paint that or some shit, but I'm gonna go on to that, and I'm gonna get behind here with some Cosmoline. I'm gonna get on with that, and also, again, thinking about this door, I am gonna freaking put some metal in it, but it's probably just gonna have a skim coat of this stuff, because they're basically, it's pinholes. The lip on the bottom, they really freaking went to town with it. It's pretty solid, you know. So it's gonna be not too hard. And once now I got this side almost done, you know, well, not almost done, but I got to do the back down there, which requires taking the bumper off. That's not going to be too bad either. So, and then after that, I'll take off the I'll take all this carpet out of here. Rust Veto 344. I'll put that crap on here. That's like it's like an 1/8 inch thick Cosmoline Rust Veto 344, and put all new carpet in. I'm not gonna like restore it, but I'm gonna make it so it's gonna stay preserved better than if it was new. Well, I pulled off the plastic trim around here, which is this piece was kind of weird. It was in here. It's really stuck in there pretty good. Surprised, that was kind of hard to get out, but doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's not really rusted over here. What happened was it came in this hole where they sealed up the factory antenna. I sealed it up better, but this is just some surface rust. This is surface rust. Just this, and I could put a piece of cardboard and a metal plate over this when I weld, so it won't burn that. And eventually, I'll probably put a new thing, a cap on there, and new carpet, new seat covers, and paint all this freaking shit up with the original color, and look like not restored, but not bad. So I'm going to vacuum this out and grind it up and put new metal in there, and I could be able to weld all the way through there. Doesn't look like any problems. It's not much. It's not too bad at all. Wow, should have done this years ago. Okay, so you can see I ground out a lot more in there, and if you look way down in there, there's I don't know if you could see it, but you probably can't. There's a bolt, that bolt, you can see it coming through. What there was a bunch of insulation in here. That's really why this accumulated some freaking water. It was all insulation up in this area. Yeah, it's stupid freaking doing that kind of stuff, and it looks like this metal was never coated with anything, and they put insulation in there, so if it got collected water, it rusted. So there's not going to be insulation in there. There's going to be a real thick coat of Rust Veto 344, but that's going to come later. But right for now, it's going to get rust-killing rust converter primer and high heat aluminized header paint. I'm not going to be welding directly on that. I'm going to make a plate that fits in here exactly with that funny shape, and I'm going to weld it in there, and we're going to put something over this, keep that from burning and pull that rubber away, and that should do it. That should do it. And then after all that's done, we're going to come through the top here, fill this up with cosmoline. I'm probably going to drill some holes in here and put some plugs, because this covers the, you see that piece back there? That covers that up, the aluminum kick plate. I'm going to have one here and one here with a rubber plug. So I can actually stick a vacuum cleaner in there with a tiny hose, with like a 1/2-inch hose, and air gun, and also cosmoline it. Make sure these rockers never rust. It's going to be an ongoing project, but let's get this part done. Let's get this coated up with rust converting primer and then a coat of freaking paint, and we'll make that plate. Takes a little longer than I thought, but it's getting done. Okay, so I cut out a piece of metal. I made it a little bit bigger too. You can see I painted around here so I can see where the cut was. I might make a little lip on there so it'll really be more secure. I tried using this air nibbler. It's a $24 air nibbler. It's okay for, well, I tried it out on 18 gauge. You can see it cuts no problem. And it's supposed to be up to 16 gauge steel, not just 16 gauge aluminum, but not really. Maybe you could do it in straight line, but the jigsaw is a lot faster. So this thing is very quick, believe it or not. As long as you hold the metal down nice and solid like this, and you got your foot up here, and you got pressure on the front of this, and you got some lube, cuts like butter. If you don't, you'll be breaking blades left and right. I don't break blades, it works great. This thing does work for 18 gauge, and you could do rust repair even on a muscle car, the older cars with 18 gauge. It's not really that bad. Most people use 18 or 20 even. I'm using 16 gauge, the thick shit, which is like the original body, you know. And it's going to be coated on the inside with all kinds of shit, so it should last like a million years. Yeah, and in case you don't know how an air nibbler works, you see that little thing in there? It goes right in that slot, and it nibbles out that much. So when you squeeze the handle, the air pressure, it's actually chopping that out. It chops out like, I don't know, 3/16 wide gap in metal. It's great. You know, you can make all kinds of turns with it, but it is it is overpowered for 16 gauge, even though it's rated for 16 gauge. But what the fuck you want for freaking $24, right? God. Yeah, it's Chinese, but you know, it'll last because I'm not going to use it that much, and I'll have uses for it when the 18 gauge comes into play. Okay, it's all ground down, cleaned up, notched out. I actually bent this away from this just a little bit so I can put a piece in there to keep this covered so this doesn't burn, and I'll be able to move that away too. I used 3M weld through, weldable, corrosion resistant coating, copper coat. That's what's on there. It looks like gray primer, but that's not what's on here. It was chemically cleaned. I cleaned it off with brake fluid after I ground it, blew it off with air. And here's the patch panel that's going in there. 16 gauge. I made a lip on it. So it'll be stronger than the original. And I'm going to use these things. These are like piece of floor tile I have left over. That'll provide enough insulation so when I'm welding near stuff it won't catch on fire, you know, instead of a welding blanket. I don't have nothing like that yet. Anyway, so I gotta wait for the shit to dry and then we'll tack it in there. I'll probably not show this absolutely 100% complete, but because it's an ongoing fucking project, you know what I mean? And there you go. So we're doing it right. It's not to restoration standards, but it's to durability standards and strong standards. That's what really counts. Okay, so it's all welded in. It's not welded in perfect, but it's welded in solid. It doesn't have, like, there's probably little spots I missed, but like I says, I'm going to get in here now with the grinder, grind it down, and I'm going to do the same thing, and just like I did over here, put the panel adhesive over it, and then let that dry, and then, well, I'll be going on to the door. This is actually the part of the car that had me the most worried. I was wondering what I was going to find when I was dealing with this shit, and that looks like it'll be cured. So just have to grind it down and put the panel adhesive on it. I'll just cut it off right here with it, and you know, I'll be going on to the door, and probably not going into so many gory details on the next parts because I'll be doing the same thing to the other side after I do the door. I'll go over this door in a little detail, but I'll be doing the same thing to the other side. And basically, probably the other videos I'll be doing is how to get in here with the wand. I'm actually thinking about not getting Eastwood's frame saver product that you spray in there with the 2.5 foot length wand, because I could buy Rust Veto 344, and even if I need to thin it out, I could just use one of those pressure pump up things, sprayers, you know, those pressure sprayers, without even using the air compressor, which I have over there. And I don't need to be using aerosol cans, man. It's freaking aerosol cans are expensive. But yeah, that problem is cured, and it's stronger than original. So, and this will be all rust proofed inside. And probably, just to give you a quick note, what I'm probably going to do is use Rust-Oleum automotive enamel on the light tan that's on the bottom, probably even the roof with a clear coat of Rust-Oleum automotive enamel. Automotive enamel, not Rust-Oleum spray can shit. It's still pretty cheap stuff, but it's stuff that I can just get for 20 bucks a quart someplace, 21 bucks a quart, and just slap it on if there's any problem with me smacking into a tree branch or some shit like that. Because this is not going to be some drive it to the freaking bullshit show car. It's going to be, it's a work truck, El Camino, man. You know what I mean? Anyway, it's coming along fine. Just what happens with me is like I got a million and one things going on, and I work on it a few hours here and there. I just roll as fast as I possibly can. If I was working on this all day, all the rust would be gone and the whole thing would be undercoated within 2 weeks, definitely, inside and out. But that's not how I'm doing it.